War has two impacts in this game. The first, as a nation chooses its defense policy, it naturally considers defense as a protection against foreign forces. However, offense must not be overlooked. When doing this, the nation is evaluating its war readiness. In economics, this translates to a war economy. As battle is declared, the nation's citizens begin to feel the effects of battles in terms of citizen casualties and resource expenditures. Depending on who wins the skirmish or battle, there are citizen casualties, and if the aggressing army succeeds in launching an invasion of a foreign territory, they get to claim 2 resources of any condition, such as a tank, a jet, a house, clothing, food, water, etc. Each country must choose a defense policy at the beginning of every turn. The defense policy determines what the war readiness is for that nation, excluding tanks and jets. Honorary Guard we often think of as those Swiss guards that you see in the Vatican City in those costumes with the pikes. Well, that is the weakest form of military in the game, and it costs 1 currency per turn. Again, currency is jelly beans. The Honorary Guard offers the nation the ability to cast 1 die. It's a 6-sided die, and you get 1 for having Honorary Guard. Mercenary Corporation is 2 currency per turn, and you get 2 dice. Standing Army is 2 currency plus a crude oil to symbolize modern warfare aspects, and you get 3 dice if you have a standing army. It is very important to know ahead of time what your plan is going to be, because jelly beans are rare in the game. There's only a few ways to get jelly beans. In order to declare war, the Prime Minister of the attacking nation has to contact the Game Master to declare war. That war will begin at the end of the current round. War must be declared in the planning phase of the round, and at that point, both countries are locked into their war readiness. Nothing can be changed once war is declared. However, in order to actually have a war, we must first consider diplomats. Diplomats are created by countries, and each country can have 1 diplomat. Each diplomat in the game, regardless of which country they belong to, will influence a chance to prevent war based on 1 6-sided die. The diplomat's function is to prevent war like a United Nations resolution, where the UN would dispatch peacekeepers to defend a certain nation's territory. To prevent the battle, the diplomacy role must be greater than the attacker's role. If there are no diplomats in the game, then there is no diplomacy role. If there's a tie, then the attacker can still attack the target nation. An example about the diplomacy role. If the diplomat role is greater than attack role, battle is prevented. So let's assume the following example. Let's assume there are 2 diplomats in the game, and the attacker war readiness is 3. Again, regardless of where the diplomats are, whether one of them is in the defending nation or not, we still have 2 diplomats in the game, and they have an influence. The defending nation will throw 2 dice, because there are 2 diplomats in the game. The attacker will throw 3 dice because, again, their war readiness is 3. Perhaps they have a standing army, or they have a mercenary corporation plus a tank. Something to get them to 3 dice. Now let's say the defending nation's dice land, and it's a 4 and a 3 for a total of 7. The attacker's dice land, and it's a 2 and a 1 and a 1 for a total of 4. 7 is greater than 4, therefore battle is prevented. Assuming that the battle continues, we will roll dice in a similar fashion. War readiness is calculated based on military policy, plus the number of tanks and the number of jets involved in the battle. Okay? Tanks add +1 war readiness, whereas jets subtract war readiness from the enemy's war readiness. So jets do not add anything, they just take away. Think of it as jet fighters are bombing enemy fortifications to soften the country up for ground forces to invade. Okay? So the dice roll is this. The attacker has a military policy of 3 plus 2 tanks. That gives them war readiness of 3 plus 2 or 5. The defender has military policy 1 but has 3 tanks built up. Therefore their war readiness is 1 plus 3 equals 4. The attacker rolls a 2, a 3, a 2, a 6, and a 4 for a total of 17. The defender rolls a 6, 4, 5, and 6 for a total of 21. As you can see in this example, even though the defender has only 4 dice against the attacker's 5, the total is greater than the attacker's. Therefore, the defenders successfully defeat the aggressors, or the attackers. Once this happens, whoever wins the battle gets to take a resource, whether it's a tank or a jet fighter, etc., from the enemy, the loser. Also, there is loss of life. So whoever is defeated loses 1 citizen. Regarding student expectations when it comes to battle, in terms of writing requirements, students must write very clearly and extensively regarding their experience and how it has affected their nation's economy. Specifically, opportunity cost, marginal benefit, marginal cost, in other words, a marginal benefit analysis, and an examination of how the battle or declaring the war has affected trade and cooperation amongst nations. As a result of war being cast, do other nations respond with a proxy war? Or do they simply go about their business? Do you as the defender or you as the attacker try to trade with other nations and you are restricted and others do not want to cooperate with you? Let there be no mistake that war should be taken seriously, and in doing so, students are responsible for examining the effects.